Welcome to the latest episode of Enterprising Minds. Dave and Alex are here for you. Alex, you have today's topic, so why don't you start us off?
Yeah, it's something that's been on my mind, but also something I've been hearing from some folks off of LinkedIn is they are thinking about going freelance. So what is your opinion of going freelance in, say, late 2024, early 2025 kind of time frame? Do you think it's a good idea, especially in the world of like SEO is kind of unknown with the advent of AI pieces and how that's going to be affecting SEO, content creation, and the AI kind of option there or view of it being a really good option? Is that a smart choice to go right now? Or what angle or spin would you put on it to try to make it into something that would work?
Wow. Okay. Yeah, there's a lot there.
Yeah. Let's break it down right now. Would you go freelance?
Would I go freelance? I was just about to caveat what I was going to say by I'm not necessarily in a position to consider this choice for myself right now. God forbid, maybe I'm forced to make the choice. Who knows?
Right.
Can't do any future looking things. No, I think if you would have asked, let me put it this way. If you would have asked me a couple years ago, I would have been way more bullish on going freelance. With how much AI has changed and how much the AI capabilities have increased, holding aside all the debates of like whether or not it's good and hallucinations and whatever else, what they are still doing is still amazing, right? I would be a little more nervous about it now. From a pure financial, like I can sustain myself kind of standpoint.
Sure.
Unless you have like the really big client that's like already lined up, but I don't think the environment is really nice to agencies or freelancers right now. Yeah. How about you? Where are you sitting on this before we get stuck in on whatever,
I'm kind of all over the place, to be honest. I don't really have a firm opinion right now. Part of it is I absolutely agree. AI is putting a giant question mark on projects. So if you're a marketer or a small business or a large business and you're trying to put together like, what should we do with this whole SEO thing? Because we don't know what we're doing. If you're at that point and you're trying to put together some budget, you would say, I don't know where it's supposed to go right now. It feels a little weird. It's not just like in prior years, you would hire an SEO consultant. They would do their recommendations and whatever else. Instead, now it's a question of I need more of a guide to help me make that decision. And maybe that becomes a sales opportunity as you become kind of a strategy consultant who's giving away time probably for free at the beginning to say, here, I can help you kind of guide you in this uncertain time right now, which will eventually probably turn into a sale of some sort of services or something that you could probably do for them.
Right.
The other piece about it is, I mean, there's been so many stories of, on the development programming side, of someone holding down multiple jobs where the companies don't know that this person is actually holding down multiple jobs. Yeah. And they're either offshoring the work to some other country, some other individual who's actually doing the programming development work, or they're using AI or whatever other tools that they have at their disposal as heavily as possible to try to basically take a couple different paychecks, make the meetings work in between all the rest of them, and just kind of make it work. I can also see some point to that too on AI's ability for scaling and efficiency. If you really knew SEO well, how quickly could you turn around a project? What's the value there that you could still bring? Probably reduced, but maybe. I mean, that's one.
Now, are we talking specifically about SEO, or are we talking like digital marketing consulting kind of as a whole? Because that would change my answers.
Sure. I was just thinking SEO, but yeah, let's change it up. Digital marketing overall. What's your reply?
So for me, I knew that as much as I loved SEO, well, and still really like it. It's a primary lens that I view the digital landscape with. I knew that I would want to step away from it at some time, either because the market was going to change or because my interests were going to change. And for me personally, I have a very hard time seeing myself doing anything for 10, 20, 30 years. Like, I just can't imagine that far out. And I think the way that I'm hearing non-SEOs and people who haven't had the training in SEO, the way that they talk about it, especially post AI, I think they just assume that the AI is doing the SEO, or like the technical side of SEO can just be handled by IT now because they do all the technical stuff anyway, or AI is doing all the technical stuff because I told it, in my query, SEO optimize this thing. Well, what do you mean by that? Because even if you were talking to a freelancer, there's a lot of different ways that could go, right?
Sure.
So the nature of the SEO projects have changed, just because of that. I know there are certain elements where, if it doesn't work for ranking, but it's something that you need to do in order to, have your checkbox completeness or whatever. You might use AI for it just to have it done and be good. Meta descriptions come to mind, or like video tags, blog tags,
sure,
that kind of stuff. Yeah.
And then digital marketing overall, you would say go for it?
I think you have a better chance of making enough income to support yourself, right?
Sure.
If you did the digital strategy overall, if you were able to talk about how the client wants to go to market, where the audience is, how the audience interacts, right? Because those are the things that are actually setting the communication strategy. Those are the things that are setting the channel strategy more than just SEO, right? Because SEO assumes that you have an owned media strategy. The website plays an important piece in what they're doing, and you want to optimize that, And I think a lot of people in certain business models are actually stepping away from the websites as much, which I find fascinating. But yeah, I do think you'd have a much better chance to have a broader strategy view than just SEO.
To pull on that thread for a moment, what are they moving toward? They're pulling away from websites.
Okay, well, this is what I've been noticing, and maybe you will disagree with me, which I would welcome the debate on. I think if you look at the way the tools have been going, like with the AI tools, with Google, the other platforms, you have the walled garden thing that's going on with Google and Meta, and Zuckerberg doesn't want anybody in charge of how Meta does anything, right? Google wants to keep you on a Google platform. But then there's an increased focus on the verticalization of everything. So it's not just do some keywords. It's not just, I have high quality content for this thing. It's, are you showing expertise and authoritativeness across the entire vertical, or is it a certain section of the vertical that ends up laddering up to the larger thing? The health and wealth was definitely one of those things, but I think the reliance now on the EAT standards for SEO, makes it harder for you to be in multiple things. You have to stay in your lane of, the search engines expect this type of content from this type of business. And if you're not producing that, then you have less of a chance to rank for things, which makes it harder. But I also think, what's old is new again. And I've been saying this for a little bit, but I think, some of the older techniques of PR end up becoming more important, where maybe you're not taking time to create content for your website as much because your audience doesn't necessarily go to the website unless it's looking for product specifications or whatever piece of research you might have done. Maybe they're hanging out on Reddit or a trade organization website or magazine or, something like that, right? These places that specific audiences are aggregating towards are the things that are easier to target, and you might get more targeted eyeballs than you would just that mass communication strategy that, digital marketing has always been.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. I'm just thinking of like tool and platform adoption and the content changes that requires. Mm-hmm. So if you're a small restaurant, honestly, as long as your listings are pretty good online, your Uber Eats is filled out. I mean, your other kind of pieces, like you've got decent, shots of your food, as well as the complete menu and a non-uploaded PDF kind of wonky version, but actually like a working version. Mm-hmm. And if your Google Maps listing or Apple Maps listing is set up correctly with hours and address and takeout and delivery options, yeah, you don't really need a website. Like that one's kind of outside of it. Depending on where your market is, right? I can absolutely see that. Especially, let me think about even down to the e-commerce side. So many searches now are starting on Amazon for e-commerce, at least in the US. But it's quite a few other countries as well. That still remains true. It's not a Google search. It's an Amazon search. And people have gone down pretty far down that path without always going through that top funnel, high volume kind of generic query till they find something. And now they're on Amazon. A lot of times they have an idea of what they want and they go to Amazon to start and finish and purchase. And that's it. So then it's your Amazon listing that really needs to shine, not your website.
Right.
So I see that. I definitely see that kind of distributed piece. The other piece I see from the digital strategy kind of overall offering versus an SEO offering, there's a pro and con there. The pro side of it is you have an individual or company, a group of individuals who are very focused on the service that they're providing. Mm-hmm. They are the best at whatever. It doesn't necessarily mean they have any expertise at all in marketing. And if they were to need marketing help, they probably need a pretty broad swath of marketing help. And also, how often have you come in to see a company and they think they have some idea of doing marketing and they're asking you to do something that makes absolutely no sense because they don't. And they really need to kind of rebuild things from the ground up. So being there at the ground up would be nice. The other side of it with SEO specific skills or any kind of subject matter expert specific offering, you can charge a lot more money for it.
Yeah.
It might not be ongoing though. And that's always something that I've struggled with from SEO freelance work. You get a project, the project's done. You get a project, the project's done. An ongoing retainer is like the golden thing that you're always chasing. But honestly, that's a pretty hard deal to strike. It's a lot easier to do package or project-based deals of saying, one-time setup, one-time recommendations and, implementation thing or something like that. And you don't have this ongoing fee that a consultant or digital strategy consultant could have.
Right. Yeah, I do think with the nice thing about the tools that are out there now, whether it's AI or more the traditional SaaS tools that we're all familiar with, the productivity of the individual freelancer can go through the roof, right? So you can offer more things, and you can offer more things cheaply. On the surface is a wonderful thing. Like the email specialist example that you bring up, where it used to take 7 people and now it might take 2, maybe, mostly 1, because of the drag and drop things now with templates.
Right.
So that's wonderful, but that's also true on the client side. They can now subscribe to the same tools and have their in-house marketers do the exact same thing.
Yep.
And I think the only thing that you're actually going to get a chance on is the one-off projects, or you're going to get the things that the marketer doesn't want to do themselves for whatever project it is. So, you can handle that one portion of it, but maybe not necessarily the full, end-to-end aspect of the project, just because of the tool availability and how cheap they are now.
Yeah, the other side is, as ease of use increases, differentiation becomes key.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if everybody, including competitors, can all have a HubSpot, set up, or basics of, maybe it's Facebook advertising, depending on your market, Google advertising, geo-targeted, depending on your audience. I mean, all those different kind of things. If it's that easy to set up, that means your competitors also are going to be doing something similar to that. Some won't, some will. So then if you want to rise to the top of those who are, then it's back to your differentiation. You're ones who really care about it. That's tough, though, also with SEO, because you have to have somebody who understands the potential, and that they're missing it, and that they want an expert. And that's somebody who's been in the weeds, or at least has attempted it for a while and gotten frustrated and said, no, I'm willing to pay somebody to help me. That takes quite a bit to get to that point. Yeah, there's going to be a lot of HubSpot ads out there for those same businesses that might be your target customer, and they're probably going to have a HubSpot login before they ever contact you. I mean, their advertising budget's insane, so they're going to be in front of those same people.
Yeah. And I do think there's an opportunity now that everything has gone so digital. I think there's an opportunity to do more of the in-person things. If you can put yourself out there and do that, or, all of the tried and true methods, right? Like going and presenting at the Chamber of Commerce, or putting on a free seminar at the library for whatever local businesses show up, or, whatever else. All of those things still are necessary. If you're gonna build things out and work that way. Because over the last 10 years, to circle back on our previous conversation, the one thing that I think has changed in a lot of conversations I'm having recently is that allure of the San Francisco dream, right? Where you can be the one person in your bedroom or garage or whatever else, and you can instantly scale globally, and that'll be wonderfully. And I'm hearing so many more people after trying that, being completely burned out on that, going, hey, wait a minute. I actually don't need to scale beyond, the 5 cities surrounding me to make a decent living. Like, I could just do a local thing. How does that change where I prioritize my time and my energy? Because I don't actually want the headaches of being, the number one realtor across 5 states. Because now you're talking interstate commerce and whatever else, right?
Sure.
Like, what do I actually need?
I definitely see that. Like, and also, honestly, there's competition there that is like reasonable, and that you're able to win with, your human presence, your trust signals basically that you're giving off, versus the random blog of whatever blog.com that tells you the 10 ways that you should be doing digital marketing today. Like, which one are you going to believe? The person in front of you who talks for like 5 minutes, or the random blog? And I'd probably say the person, because if they sound like they know what they're talking about, they probably have a whole lot more to tell me than a lot
Right.
more to trust. And you have that ability for communication as well. There's a funny example. I've seen quite a few recently that were all the same, though. It was people who were doing handmade crafts of some sort.
Right.
And they were trying to sell it on Etsy and trying to sell it on Amazon and trying to scale it and trying to hire larger companies or CNC mills, basically, to try to like build as many as they possibly can. And they're struggling with shipping prices and seller prices and fees and all the rest of that stuff. And then the common thread between all of them was that the majority of their income comes from local businesses, local arts fairs, crafts fairs, all the rest of that kind of stuff. Right. And actually the online sales, while there's basically churn there, a lot of products being created and sold, the margin is so bad, or an alternative competitor company quickly duplicates whatever unique feature they had, they lose it. They totally lose it. And then they have to go right back to traditional methods of trying to be in front of people's faces and, try to get out to the local gift shops and whatever else and sell them 10 of them at a time.
Right. Right.
Oh, that's funny. I mean, your phrase is absolutely true. It's old as new. Yeah.
Because the other thing to think about too is, okay, if you have joined us and listened to us talk about AI and digital marketing, or you're listening to other podcasts like that, you're on the tip of the spear, because you're actually thinking about the new technologies, how they're impacting your strategies, all of that. Traveling recently for a convention, I was sitting in the airport just listening to all these, older business guys talk about the same convention I was at, right? And the way that they were talking was just a really great reminder of this huge population of people that just jump in and out of what's available to get their message out whenever they suddenly need to get something out. And if you think about it, that's probably the majority of the workforce, honestly. Like, I have this product. How do I get it out? I have X number of dollars for my marketing budget.
Sure.
I had success with paid ads before. Let's look at, Google search. What happened in Google search recently? Is it still the way I remember it? Okay, no, it's not.
Yep.
Like that's probably representative of a lot of people, rather than, did you hear about the latest algorithm update? This tiny little minutia is changed, and yep. Like, okay, I don't have time to think about that because I got, 2 young kids at home and
right.
mother-in-law is a pain in my butt. Like, I can't handle this right now. So, yeah.
Yeah, it kind of gets back down. It's still about, if you have a decent book of business, it's an ongoing, I mentioned retainers before, but even re-ups on annual contracts. I mean, standard shipments, loyal customers, call it what you like.
Right.
You start to build that. It takes time. You build it over time. You get that cycle going, and switching costs increases for your customers. They don't want to switch away from you. They got to find somebody else, whatever else. Maybe they had a poor experience last time, but not that bad of an experience. They're probably going to buy again. Again, you get back down to the same trust signals, the same sales piece, the same relationships from the 1920s, 30s, 40s, 18, whatever, 1700, whatever. Same thing. Loyal customers make the business work. And that word of mouth helps. And those same tactics from before too.
Yeah. And I think the other thing too, because I listen to the AI podcasts and different things like that, right? Like the biggest thing recently was the focus on AI agents.
Right.
Right. And HubSpot and Salesforce recently had, big discussions on that with their latest expo, convention, whatever you want to call it. And if you go, okay, this is going to impact the knowledge work area, that for anybody who's come up through the Web 2.0 or Web 1, sort of, I am the expert at, email or SEO or whatever else.
Sure.
Well, okay. So now I can find somebody who has that expertise, take a conversation with them, and build a custom AI agent to handle all of that, or take all the research papers I can find online and upload it as training things. And then I just have an AI do the optimization stuff for me. And it's just done.
Sure.
Is it perfect? Probably not. Is it good enough? Yeah, because then I get to focus on what I like doing, which is not looking at whether or not I have 20 keywords that are the right target of what,
Right.
Oh. Has anybody actually written image alt text in a long time? Not that I know of. Like, I mean, you have to now, but nobody likes it. Nobody really wants to.
Right.
Yeah.
That's where definitely AI picks up pretty quickly.
Yeah.
I've been using ChatGPT a lot and Copilot a lot lately in the last couple of weeks. A lot of daily usage basically with either of them. And no matter what, your questions and your requests are complex. The queries get complex. And the more that I play around with either one of those, the more that I understand how much innate knowledge I have
right,
to really get to the thing that I actually want.
Right.
And it tries to give me, the base response, the basic, answer to the question that I try to give out. And then I say, no, that's not quite it. I need this. And it keeps going back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
And it just keeps hitting me over and over again. It is all based upon how good are you at coming up with the right request, asking for the right thing. And that's the thing that I think that's missed with a lot of these headlines, is an AI agent will not take over marketing because you don't know what to ask for.
Right.
You can't just tell it to say, hey, let's build an email campaign around this specific offer. I want a call to action around this kind of stuff. I want to have this kind of percentage off on my particular business. And that will give me a healthy profit margin on that particular product line. No, you have to know that first, and then you can go to it and try to figure out, each of those details. Or maybe it can give you the call to action. Great. But it can't say that 11% is going to kill you and 10% will be fine. There's still so much innate knowledge that has to be present to utilize a tool and utilize it well.
That's why I've been really fascinated by these people that have built sort of like strategy partners based on their knowledge, just to bounce ideas off of, where it's like, okay, you can be like my co-strategist for whatever I'm doing. Like, I'll handle the actual numbers or the actual implementation of things, but help me think through this problem. That's one of the things that I've found AI really useful for, right? Because, you wake up certain days, you didn't sleep very well, so your brain's not capable of deep thought on the day you really need it. So what do? You go to your friend typically and say, I need your help with this because I'm exhausted, but now your friend's exhausted too because of everything else they're doing. So you go to the AIs now to be like, just give me a first draft. Let me see if it's close to what I'm thinking. Right. And then you can move on from there, and make it your own and make it more representative of what you would actually want to promote. It's not necessarily doing the work for you. That's definitely where I've found AI falling flat on its face. But it's getting better and better as it goes on.
That was actually a funny conversation. I kind of was thinking through when I was driving into work this morning was AI has created conversations and deleted conversations. So what I mean by that is I had a project I mentioned on a prior episode of remodeling and redoing or renovating my basement, and I didn't know much about, proper design. So I had a million questions, and I found a GPT that was good at home decor, and I asked it a million things, and it was probably fantastic because my wife did not have to hear any of those. So it probably made her very happy to be like, no, wall hanging means this. And I was like, what the heck is the difference between a curtain and a blind? And I mean, I knew nothing, like nothing. So it was very good at that point to, every once in a while, whenever I had a random thought, to be able to just pull up my phone, send a query, learn a little bit, get that little answer or something else a little bit deeper, and then keep on going.
Right.
The other side of it, and Will Reynolds had talked about this recently about his Excel expert at his agency. And he recently had a problem that he was able to figure out. I can't remember, it was ChatGPT or Copilot, which one he used. Right. But he was able to figure it out with an AI, where he said, normally I would reach out to the person in my team who I know is the Excel expert. So that person has kind of lost a connection point. Mm-hmm. I've lost a conversation. I've lost a little bit there too, but I've gained this efficiency, this nice copy and paste, this very quick response and answer that I got out of AI too. So
right.
It gives you, but it also kind of removes things. But it was my drive to work. I kept thinking about it's deleting conversations in a way, because I don't reach out to friends to ask these kind of questions. I know I have a friend who's an expert in whatever, but I don't ask him. I don't ask her.
Right.
I try to figure it out myself, and whatever I get is good enough.
Right. Right. Yeah. It's ever evolving. And I think February, an episode in February of this year, something like that, I had talked about how I was thinking more and more about like personal connections and making sure that I set a priority to reach out to people I haven't spoken to in a while, and make that a solid part of my routine. And as the years gone on, and as I've learned more and experimented more with, AI and different work scenarios, I am tripling down on that strategy. Because there's something to be said to being the person that people go to when they no longer have the connections to the experts to say, who would I go to for this? You seem to know everybody. Like that.
Connecting person, the networking person. I got it.
Right. I mean, there's some advantages of that, Yeah. So anyway, quick episode from us today. Thank you for checking it out, hanging out, listening to us. Tell us what you think. Are you thinking of going freelance now? Are you interested in that? Are you seeing the market environment as scary dark forest you don't want to go into? Tell us what you're thinking. The email's in the episode description on the podcast or YouTube. Check us out. Let us know. Leave a review, and we will see you in the next episode of Enterprising Minds. Thank you.
Thanks, all.